Hello everyone, I'm Alfian and today we are going to solve the LeetCode challenge on the challenge number 175 called the Combine Two Tables. And for this particular challenge, we are working with databases queries as the language is MySQL or MS SQL, Postgres, Oracle or Pandas. You can choose whatever suitable for you. But for this challenge, I'm going to use MySQL to ace this challenge. And the description says that we have two tables. The first table, which is the person, which has two column names. The first one, which is three columns. We have the person ID, which is in the form of integer, the last name, and a character, variable character, also the first name, also variable character. And for this person ID is the primary key column with the unique values for this table, and this table contains information about the ID of some people and their first and last name. And the second table, which is the address, and we have four columns. The first one, which is the address ID, person ID, city, and lastly the state. Address ID is the primary key with the column with unique values for this table, and each row for this table contains information about the city and state of each person with corresponding ID, which is person ID. And we need to write a solution to report the first name, last name, city, and state of each person in the person table. If the address of a person ID is not present in the address table, report null instead. So we need to show whatever inside the person table. But since the person table has only the first name and last name, and we need to show a solution to report their first name and last name without their person ID, then we need to list these columns and also the city and state that we believe is from the address table. We have the city and state column, and if it's not present of that person ID from this second column, then we need to return null instead. The city and state will be returning as null, and we can return the result table in any order that we want. And for this visualization right here, we have the example 1, the first one, which is the person table, and the second one, which is the address table, as listed the IDs and also address ID, person ID. And for the person ID, since Alice Bob is listed in the city or the address table, the person ID of the Alice Bob, so it is a match 1, then Alice Bob will return the entry which from the New York City and the state of New York. Since Alan Wang or Wang Alan has the person ID of 1, and Alan Wang is not listed anywhere in the address table, so we need to return null anyway as her city and the state that she is from. And the explanation, there is no address in the address table for the person ID equals to 1, so we return null in their city and state. Address ID is equals to 1 contains information about the address of person ID too. So without further ado, let's solve this out. Since we are using the MySQL as our language to query this table, the first thing that we need to do, since it is the first time in my tutorial that I'm showing you how to write a MySQL query or working with database, so bear with me. The first thing that we need to do is write select query, and we can select, since it is only the output is expecting the first name and last name from each person table, from the person table columns, so we don't need the person ID, so we can just write the last name and the next one using the comma and enter the first name. And we need to declare where the last name and first name is from. It is from the person table, so we can write a query from and write a person table. And we need to test this out to see if it's showing anything. And for now, as expected, we are returning wrong answer, and we have the last name as stated as first column and first name in the second column, but this output is expecting the first name first and the last name as the second one from the column. So we can just swap this out I'm using the Alt and arrow up button from my keyboard, and delete the comma from the second one and place this onto the first one. So it is the same thing as first name, comma, last name, like this. So for the sake of readability, I'm going to write this in new line manner. So we can run this again to see if we already solved half of our problem. So we have the output right here, and it's expected, and the expected we need to return the cd and state. If it is not, if the person id from the second table, which is the address table, is not present, then we need to return null anyway. And the next thing that we should do, I'm going to use something called alias. We can use the from person as p, and we can address the select using the alias, and then using the dot after the p. So we can use the p as the alias of the person. So we are selecting the first name from the table person and last name from the table person. So it is confusing if we also have the last name and first name into the from the address table. So we need to determine which column that we already picked upon. So since first name and last name is addressed from this person alias, so the MySQL already know that we are picking from the person table instead of the address table. Let's say, as example, if we have a duplicate column name from two different tables, so we need to address this using the alias. And for the next one, what we have to do is using the left join. Why left join? Left join is going to join the second table onto the first table based from this foreign key from the person id. If it is not present on the first table based on the person id from the second table, then we will return null anyway, and we will insert that entry onto our first table, which is on the person table right here, as showing as this expected output. So let's look over the documentation from the W3 schools, and we have the left join keyword, and the left join keyword returns all records from the left table, which is the table 1, and the matching records, if any, from the right table. So from the statement right here, let's say if from the second table there is no foreign key from the first table, then we need to return that entry anyway, even if it's a null. So this is the query using the left join after the select from and left join from the table 2 onto the table 1 using the on keyword, and we can address this as we see that the table 1 is not using any aliases, but we are accessing this using the dot, addressing the name as it is without using the alias. If we use the alias, we can just use from and then as t or t1, and then we can just use on with the on t1 and then dot column name from table as t1 if we happen to use the aliases. And for the table 2, we can use the same thing. On the table 2, we can use table 2 as t2, and for the next one on t1 dot column and then equals t2 dot column name. So that is the usage of aliases. And let's go back to our code. We can use the left join. I'm using the all capitalized letters, and the left join, we can address the address table. We reference the address table using the address table as A using the capital A, and then we use the on keyword as stated from this left join. Let's go back to our code. Using the on, we need to reference from the table 1 to see if it equals the entry from the table 2. From this case, we need to reference the table 1, which is the person ID. We can use the p dot, because why p is because p is the alias of the person table. So we can address this using the p and then dot person ID is equals to the second table, which is on the address table, person ID of the second table, which is the address table. We can use the a alias because a already declared from this address as a, and we can use dot a person ID, and we can run our code to see if it works, but we still get the wrong answer, and it is still expecting the cd column and state column, but we don't put anything. We didn't put anything onto our output table, so we need to insert a new column from this select statement right here. The next one, we need to address the address table, the cd and state from the address table based on the output format right here. Cd is first and state is later. We can address this using the a from this alias of the address alias and a.cd, and the next one is supposed to be a.state. And let's run this again to see if it works. And we got the right answer as the expected output. And you might be wondering why we are using the a, cd, and a state on the select statement. It's because we are trying to show all of the table columns, required table columns, on the show statement right here as the output, and this one is going to be present based on this one on the first line, which is the first name as the first column, last name as the second column, cd third column, and state as the last column. What if we rotate this, the cd and the state, and let's run this again, and the state will be presented first, state will be presented first, and cd will be presented as last column. But since the LeetCode expect return the result table in any order, so as long as our row is correct, then it doesn't matter which order that we stated from the show, from the select right here. And we are using the from person as p from this from statement as the reference, using the left join from the second table as the address, and using the on to check only return the p.personId is matched within the personId on the address table. If it is not present, then we will return this anyway using the null keyword using the left join function. So let's submit this code to see if it really works. Okay, so that's about it. I hope you understand my explanation. If you still don't understand, you can ask me in the comment section, or if you have any better solutions regarding this challenge, tell us what you think in the comment section. Thank you for watching the video. I hope you have a great day, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.